It wasn't like my first time trying. Like I had been trying to be a performer, like for a year. I'd been traveling to random colleges, playing in cafeterias, like doing that thankless work that you're like, this is literally going nowhere. And, I remember like sleeping in my car one time, just being like, this is so lonely. Like, I just don't know how much longer I can do this.
I've done so much therapy. I do all the
You
therapy.
speak the therapist language?
I do. I've done everything from like energy work to, all of it, talk therapy to EMDR to neuro-linguistic programming. Like I've done all of it. Because in my background, it's like a ABC after school special, right? I've got like sexual abuse and addiction recovery and a very public marriage ending in divorce when my child was only 1. Like there's a lot, I got a lot to unpack.
I was in a fight on the basketball court because I was so used to, when things weren't going my way, reacting negatively and with anger. Because I didn't know how to communicate my emotions. I didn't know how to be
we hadn't practiced it.
Express how I feel. Because in school, it was acceptable to, when someone upsetted you, to fight them or to slam a locker and be angry. It was acceptable because that was kind of the behavior that you expected from someone like that, like a young boy. Because every time I tried to express my emotions, I was made fun of and laughed at and called weak.
It taught me to never build a home in someone else. It taught me that I needed to start building a home within myself. It taught me, I would say the most important lesson it taught me is, the feeling of emptiness that you feel when someone walks away. You feel like, I've given so much of myself and I put it inside that person and they're gone, and you just feel like you're a loose leaf in the wind.
Yeah. And she was going like psychically downward, and the whole psychiatry could not help her. All the pills and the injections and nothing helped. She jumped from 8 stories down. That is not only feeling heartbroken, it squeezes the life out of you, the sense of life, the purpose, anything. It's all gone. It's all gone. You are damaged at that moment. You're lying on the ground. You don't want to stand up. You don't know why you should anymore.
And then I got a call saying they'd seen a tape I'd posted and they wanted a tape. What am I in, like the 90s?
You're helping me feel relevant. It's okay.
They saw my tape. But yeah, they were like, hey, what you do is really interesting. We'd love for you to come audition. And I was like, this is it. All that hard work. This is my make or break. I got this. I'm going to kill this. And I worked so hard and practiced for months. And I went through that first audition and made it, got to the second phase, made it through, and I kept making it all the way until the quarterfinals. And you would think that would be like hey, I made it pretty far, but instead I focused on, instead of looking at how far I'd come on this show, being a violinist that had never performed in front of anyone more than like a cafeteria of people who weren't listening, being on stages like that in front of millions of people on TV, very different. And so rather than being like, wow, good job, Linz, when I was in the quarterfinals, I got up there, I was performing, and I got X'd in the middle of my performance, which is humiliating. They only do that if they hate what you're doing. It's not like, oh, it's okay. It's we hated it so much that I got X'd. And
my friend was here at the fight who works with me now, and he was like, I don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Whoa.
And this is one of my best friends, college football, worked together, everything.
Wow.
He's like, I don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Impressive.
I was like, wow, my best friend doesn't want to hang out with me. That's like, it's time to look within. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not everyone else is wrong anymore.
Yep.
It's time to look at myself. Yeah. And I started saying, I'm going to shed all this stuff. I think it's hard for us to make a change in our life unless there's some type of breakdown. Yeah. And the bigger the breakdown, the more we're able to look and say, okay, what's working and what's not working.
Right.
You feel like you have nothing that grounds you. You don't know who you are. All you're focused on is that person. And you think that just because they walked away with so much of what you invested in them, that they're the only person who could give it back to you. And that's what I hung on to for so long, until I realized that feeling of emptiness was okay, because I really did put so much of myself into that person. And my intention wasn't to feel empty. My intention was to genuinely give that person the love that I felt towards him. And my intention wasn't to deplete myself. My intention was, I'm investing this in someone who I deeply care about, so I can come home at the end of the day to these things that I'm putting there. So that feeling of emptiness is real. And so where do you go from there? And that's when it hit me.
You know, trauma, setting boundaries, reparenting, like these are all things that I feel like are having a moment, and maybe in part, especially the trauma because of the Me Too movement. You know, we're now like talking about sexual harassment and assault way more than we ever have as a society, and I think it's freeing women people to use their voices and to seek the help that they need and to talk about, you know, these issues as like a shared issue and a societal issue.
Do you remember the first thing that you finally admitted to yourself out loud that was maybe sort of like the where the shell cracked open?
Yeah, saying the word rape. I used to talk about I would only say like I've experienced sexual abuse, or I had like, I forget, I whitewashed it so much. And the first time out loud, I just said like I was raped. I mean, I still like get a little lump in my throat saying it out loud because I think I don't want it to be true, except it is. And the more I say it, the more I'm comfortable with it, and like it's just what happened.
I just remember standing there talking to them on live TV after my performance and just listening to them say these things to me that were just like so hurtful, and trying not to cry on national television, just being like, and in my mind, I'm like, I told every friend I've ever met to watch tonight and to vote for me. Like, oh my gosh, I was humiliated. And I remember getting off that stage and thinking, I will never step on a stage again. I can't face that. Like, it was horrifying. And, you know, I cried for hours, like, you know, and it feels like days. And, you know, finally, after like a few months, the pain inside of me, I wouldn't say it turned into like, I'm gonna prove them wrong, maybe a little bit, but also there was just that inner voice that became stronger than the pain. Stronger than the embarrassment became the voice of saying, you're not done yet. Like, and I really do feel so much that, you know, I relate it to spirituality and like my relationship with God, but I believe we all have like some kind of an inner voice. And if you listen to it, it won't lead you astray. And it kept getting stronger and stronger. And I just like, shoot, this journey, it's not done. Like, I need to keep trying. And so I did. I got back up on stages. I didn't even know what the heck to do. At this point, I was out of ideas. But just by stepping on little open mic night stages again, the opportunity found me. Not through anything I did. Like, it's just I kept taking the bait wherever I could find it till I finally bit on the right one.
It's really hard to change anything we have going on.
Bigger the breakthrough.
That's it.
I mean,
and it was kind of a perfect storm. And I started going to a lot of workshops and got asked for coaching from a lot of people, talking to therapists. Anyone I could talk to who I thought could help me, I would talk to, I would do their program. And that's what helped me finally start to break down the walls. It was like opening up about all my traumas of my past and just addressing it, acknowledging it, talking.
to friends or to like a therapist?
I started in like kind of group workshops where I opened up for the first time in 25 years about being sexually abused.
Wow,
And
that had
just,
to be like pretty emotional.
Yeah,
baggage
I was
to-
like, I'm taking this to the grave. I was like, no one needs to know this because no one will love me if they knew this about me.
Right.
No one will accept me. Everyone will think I'm a whatever. I just made up stories. So when
Blame you.
Everything, yeah. And so when I started talking about that, I was like, and people actually accepted me for talking about it. I was like, wow. And I said, man, I don't want to be scared of this anymore. So let me do it, talk about it all the time until I'm not scared. And then I had power over all of it.
Well, I was gonna just say you take its power away.
I took my power back, like,
from it.
and listen, I still get triggered every now and then and things happen and I'm like reactive, but I'm so quick to be like, okay, you're going back to a place of scarcity, of fear, of insecurity, and that's not who you are. That's not who you want to be.
Because half of your life is gone. Half the separation is torn within. You are wounded, a wounded animal, a wounded being inside. And society doesn't give a shit. So you need to stand up or stay there or be brought to a psychiatric asylum or so, a lunatic asylum or something. No, I had 4 children. I had 4 children with her. She was the love of my life. I was heartbroken. I had 4 children with her, and they were young. They needed me. So they made me survive. And the sense of going into cold water was directly there, because the mind keeps on running circles painfully. Yeah, you ask yourself, why? Directly driven from a broken heart, you get that. And the cold water makes your mind go still. It was the only moment every day I got so deep that I was not into suffering. That I had a moment where I met myself in the depth, and hey, here I am, nothing there. Can you imagine when you are depressed and suddenly a moment of relief, a moment of sunshine after months of clouds, sunshine comes. And that made me go every day into the cold water. You know, the cold of your emotional being broken is much colder than going into freezing water. So the freezing water made me able to see the sun again. And that, I always say that my children made me survive. The cold healed me.
If I'm really fixated on what I gave that person, then that in a way makes me selfish, because I want to take back what I gave. Instead, why don't I focus on the fact that I was the source of that love? I was the source of that respect. I was the source of that kindness that I gave to that person, that I invested in that person, that I built a home in that person with. If I am the source, then I can recreate that.
Yeah.
From within myself, for myself, moving forward. Why would I beg someone to give me something back when I am the one who had the ability to create it in the first place? Why put myself at the mercy of a recipient of something that I created? That was the biggest realization I made.